Hi, my name is Bill Schaefer, and this is a true story. This is when I saw a black triangle. Now, I've always been interested in UFOs and space aliens and space movies and science fiction. In the 60s or 70s, I read Frank Edwards' book, UFOs, Serious Business. But I never really anticipated that I would see one, and I never was certain that they were real. Although statistically, probabilistically, it's highly likely there's life in other places in the universe. There's 200 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, and there are 200 billion galaxies in the universe. Therefore, to assume that Earth is the only place that has life is highly unlikely, but that's a story for another video. This was in 2007. And on August 28th, I believe, there was a lunar eclipse. At this time, I was working at Asylum in Santa Monica. We were working on the movie National Treasure 2, and I worked second shift as a rotoscope artist. I wanted to do paint, but they had all the beginning workers doing paint, and so I was a rotoscope artist because I was good at it. A few other people were there. Merlin was a friend of mine, a coworker, who I've since kind of lost touch with, but we had a lot in common and would take breaks together. Well, our shift ended around 3 o'clock, and this lunar eclipse started around 2:30 in the morning. And so I worked through lunch, and I wanted to take off early to videotape the lunar eclipse. The building we worked in was on Wilshire and 6th Street in Santa Monica, and the asylum was on the 2nd and 3rd floor. There was a rooftop patio on the top of the 2nd floor on the 3rd floor, but there was also a 4th and 5th floor in the building and a higher roof. So we took off work early and we went out to the patio on the 3rd floor. And I brought my video camera and was setting it up shooting the moon. I've always been fascinated with the lunar eclipse and have shot it before on a number of occasions. I have a video of the lunar eclipse on this YouTube channel. So it was going along, Merlin came out, and the whole time Merlin was joking about, oh, I see a UFO, or oh, I see an alien, or oh, there's a spaceship on the moon, and all that kind of stuff, and he's joking around. But it was a beautiful evening. As I remember it, it was absolutely clear. There was not a cloud in the sky. And it was late at night. It was around 2 o'clock, 2:30, so there was no air traffic at all. And it was a calm, still night with no wind, and it was warm and beautiful. And the moon started changing colors. And it's, as the shadow of the earth came over the moon, it started changing to a rust-colored orange. And we were watching it and talking, and we were talking about third shift and this and that. Merlin's joking around, and we're having just a kind of a casual fun time watching the moon change because we were used to this shift and we were already up. Well, at one point, after I'm talking about third shift, I'd see something over the corner of my eye, and I look back. I think, it's just an airplane. And then I realize, I look back, and this is no airplane. This is something I've never seen before, and it was huge. Coming over the higher roof and perfectly still was a huge black ship. It was absolutely the exact color of the night sky, and it was a triangle with a square on the back of it. And at the points of the triangle were these bright white light, right at the point, almost like light was escaping somehow. And it was like pure white light. But the rest of the ship was absolutely dark, exactly the same color as the night sky. You could hardly see it. It was exactly the same color as the sky. And it just sat up there like this. And I looked back, and the funny thing is that I totally forgot I had a video camera. I forgot everything because this ship was so unusual. it was no airplane, and it was just sitting there motionless. It was almost as if it snuck over the top of the building and was watching us. But it was just sitting up there, moving ever so slowly, motionless almost, and silent, making not a noise at all. And I found myself staring at the ship, trying to make sense of it and telling myself, Bill, you have to remember this. Bill, you have to remember this. And so I tried to etch and burn the image of the ship in my mind. And I totally forgot I had a video camera. I could have just videotaped it, but I was dumbfounded. And it was like in a dream time or something. There was some kind of dreamy quality about the whole experience. And that's it. So I was looking at it for a long time, and I was noticing the details of it, that it was exactly like the night sky, and you could just barely see the edge of it. And to my mind, it seemed like a bad composite. I do special effects compositing, and I could see the mad edge, like on the edge of the ship. So I motioned to Merlin, Merlin, check this out. And he looks up and he sees it. And we're just looking at it for a while. But shortly after I say that to Merlin, the ship shoots over the Santa Monica Mountains. And it's gone in 2 seconds, absolutely silently. I might have heard a noise on the other side of the mountains, but it's hard to say. The air conditioners were running on the roof a little bit, but there was no noise whatsoever. And then it was gone. And that was it. It was over. Now, the feeling of the ship when it was overhead, when I first saw it, was very similar to the opening of the first Star Wars movie, where there's this little spaceship going along, and then all of a sudden this huge triangular cruiser comes overhead. Except there was no noise. It was absolutely silent. And the other thing is, as it was shooting away, you know, I saw the back of it, but I can't really remember what the back of it looked like. I kind of thought for a moment someone was playing a joke on us, like they were shooting a hologram up at the sky, and we were just seeing a hologram, because I work in a special effects facility. But as it flew away, it was a real ship. And I felt like I was staring into the future somehow, like I was seeing an event in the future, or I was seeing technology from the future, and something like that. Now, as soon as it was gone, Merlin and I for 10 minutes said, wow, do you see how fast that went? What do you think that was? Wow, that's amazing. That's it. You know, and I was really, really glad that he was there, because someone else saw this same ship when I did. So I know it's real. And so even if none of you believe me, which is fine, I know it was real. And that's the amazing thing. That's the amazing thing, is that there was some other technology, and I don't know what it was, but it could have been a military experiment, but I doubt it for a couple of reasons. It was big, and it was absolutely quiet. There is not a flying machine manufactured on Earth that is absolutely, totally silent like that, and can move that fast. In 2 seconds, it shot from directly overhead to over the horizon 20 miles away. And if you do the calculation, 2 seconds, 20 miles, that's escape velocity. That's the speed that you need to go to escape the pull of gravitation of planet Earth. Do the calculations. I worked it out on an envelope. Now, a few things are interesting about this, because the whole time the videotape was running. And I remembered I had the videotape after it was all over. And when I watched the videotape, and I may post it here sometime, when I watched the videotape, the curious thing is all my memories of sitting there and watching the ship and saying to myself over and over again, Bill, you have to remember this. Bill, you have to remember this, occur in a few frames, a few fields. There's no time on the tape from all the memories I have of watching this ship. My dialogue goes straight from, well, you know, third shift isn't so, and I stop mid-sentence, and then it goes right into, wow, did you see that? Did you see how fast that went? That's one curious thing about it. The other curious thing is, this was the lunar eclipse. I thought, great. Not only did me and Merlin see this ship, but in Los Angeles, and we were in Santa Monica, in the edge of Los Angeles. In the Los Angeles area, there have to be 1,000 people that watch the lunar eclipse. There's tens of millions of people in the Los Angeles area. There had to be 1,000 people that were looking right at the moon, right at the time that ship was directly overhead. And no one saw it. No one reported it. I went online and I started looking the next couple of days for reports of a black triangle, and nothing. There was one report at about 3:30 in the morning where someone in Calgary, Canada saw the exact same type of black triangle ship. But other than that, no one saw it. And that's an amazing thing. And that's my story. That is my UFO story. And now on YouTube, you can see lots of these triangular pattern of lights. And a lot of people think they're ships flying in formation, but to me, they look exactly like the black triangle that I saw. And it makes sense because the dynamic range of video is about 30 to 1. The dynamic range of film is 300 to 1, and the dynamic range that the eye can see is 3,000 to 1. And to my naked eye, and I have a pretty good eye, this was almost indistinguishable from the sky. So there's no way a video camera, or probably even a film camera, could pick out the edge of this object. Now, what it was, I do not know. But I doubt it was from this Earth. It may have been from the future. Possibly it was some military experiment, but I find that highly unlikely. And the two peculiar things that stand out in my mind is no one else in Los Angeles saw it, even though there had to have been 1,000 people looking directly at the lunar eclipse, and it happened during the lunar eclipse. And the other thing was there was a time distortion effect, where I have lots of memories of looking at the ship and talking about it that do not fit in the space on the videotape that I have an audio recording of. After that, I started researching UFOs because it really blew me away. The next day I went to work, and it was so everything was normal. We told a few people we saw a UFO, and they're like, oh, well, you know, we got output, we got shots we got to do, you know, let's get to work. And everything was depressingly ordinary after we had just seen the most mind-boggling event. One of the peak events of my life, and a life-changing experience. And I'm not sure why. But I know that these black triangles are real. I know that there's some other alien presence on Earth. And I know it was a ship. It was a big, heavy ship of some kind. Other than that, I have no idea what it was, where it came from, or why it was here. I have no idea why we saw it and no one else did. But I'm looking forward to seeing another one. And in my researches on the internet, I realized that these black triangles exist. And I realized that I had actually seen a UFO earlier at the Burning Man in 1999. And there's film footage of that UFO on the internet, on YouTube. And I'll tell you that story another time. But if you ever see a black triangle UFO, make sure you document it as best you can. And hopefully we'll find out what's going on. This is an absolutely true story. I don't care what you think of my credibility. I'm taking a risk, I suppose, sharing it. But I feel it's important that people know these things are real. Merlin saw it, I saw it. We both saw the same thing, and it was amazing. And they're here, and they're going to come back. And I don't know what the future brings, but whatever it brings, it's going to be exciting. Thank you. Have a good night, and leave your comments below. And check out the lunar eclipse. It was in 2007, and the eclipse was on August 28th. And that's when this event happened. And I have a theory that we were able to see it because the light was changed, and the ship may have had some kind of cloaking device that in ordinary lighting conditions you wouldn't be able to see it. But there was not a cloud in the sky. It was exactly the same color as the sky. It was around 2:30 in the morning, long after air traffic is stopped, and I hope I see another one sometime in my life. Thanks, and leave your comments below.